Hi everyone, welcome to this week's InstructLab community meeting. We took a break for 2 weeks, so I'm glad to see all of you back here today. And to start with, let's go through some regular housekeeping items because for some people this may be your first time. So, Dominic, if you could scroll up to the top of the document.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. So all our meetings, including this one, but we have also other meetings, they are governed by the InstructLab Community Code of Conduct. The link is in the meeting minutes. If you are interested in the details, please take a look. All the meetings are recorded, as I mentioned just now, and will be posted to our YouTube channel. And because they're recorded, if you prefer not to be on camera, please feel free to, turn the camera off. And you can also dial in via the phone and, if you prefer that option. So definitely no obligation to show your face. But of course, we're happy either way. And if you want to ask questions or comment or anything to join the conversation, please use the raise hand feature in Google Meet. If you're on the phone, it's okay. I don't think there's such feature. Just join in at the appropriate time. Feel free to do so. And again, if you prefer to chat rather than to voice out your questions and comments, you can use the chat in a function in Google Meet. So, and we will also publish the chat transcript following meetings. A lot of times it's useful for links being shared or certain details that is not easily accessible, talking through it. So just share the information on the chat and we'll share that transcript. And lastly, if you see towards the end of today's meeting notes, there's a section for attendee list. If you wish, you can add your name and link to your, whether it's GitHub GitHub page or a website and you can do that, share with us who are attending. And again, this is optional, so feel free to do so if you like. All right, so let's get started for today's meeting. Before we get into the content, next week I will actually be in Boston for DEF CON, so I won't be able to host the meeting. I was probably, like, if JJ was around, I'll ask him to do that, but since he is not, I'll ask Dominic if you are able to do so. And okay. Harish, okay. Interesting. All right. So since this is actually Dominic's first time in the meeting, and I'm already asking him to do that. But I also want to give this opportunity for Dominic to introduce herself to the community.
So hello, I'm Dominic Kafka. I am from Ireland, in the Waterford office. Well, not today, but I'm usually in the Waterford office. I graduated this May, and I've only started now in the 1st of August, and I'm happy to be here. I have a bit of experience with AI, although it's not too much. For my final year project, I just made a image classification system that can identify between 120 different dog breeds, and like I built a entire API and like a website around it, so that users can like submit photos via the internet.
Cool. Thanks. And by the way, Dominic is in the same team as Kara, Leslie, and myself. So in Red Hat. And it's just so that because we have people from Red Hat, IBM, and possibly also external. So thanks, Dominic. And all right, so I have collected some videos that has been published in the last couple of weeks. So for those who are interested, Grant has 2 new videos. One is how to train an LM using InstructLab. It's a more polished video, I think. And he has done similar videos previously, but this is just a more polished one. So if you haven't seen his videos already, this is a good one to start with. If not, if you're interested, just take a look. The second one is a Gen AI song. I haven't seen the video yet, so I'm curious to see what it's about. But I just got the link from him recently, so feel free to check it out. And then the third one is by Cedric Clyburn and Legre. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Sorry, Carrison. They did a talk at We Are Developers event in Berlin, end of July, July 20 something, I think. And this is the recording from it. So they talked about generative AI and using InstructLab to fine tune models. So this is a good demo to look at as well. And actually, Dominic, if you click on the enhancing the third video, because I actually have a question on it, if somebody can help me with it. Oh, it's probably opened in another window. But basically, let me share them. Oh, thank you. And if you go down to the comments, oh, those are not comments. If you click, oh, they're there, yeah. Somebody asked,
Sorry,
yeah.
I only have one monitor, so I have to resort to like splitting the screen in half. So
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so somebody asked whether InstructLab can be used with granted the 8 billion code instruct model. And I'm guessing Cedric or somebody from Red Hat developers answered yes. But this is where my knowledge falls short. I remember reading somewhere somebody said that we cannot use InstructLab for code models. At least, the training methodology, the fine-tuning methodology doesn't work on code models. Does anybody know, BJ, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I've successfully done iLab model serve on Granite 8B code,
Right.
but you can't do generator train. It blows up somewhere.
Okay.
So it's fully ready, but you can do just local model serving if you want.
Okay, so like you can download it, serve it, and chat with it, but you just can't.
Right. You also have to get the version that's probably GGUF formatted if you're running it on your
Right.
Mac.
I would say that the statement by the developers has some qualifiers. Apart from the fact that it's possible, there's a question of if it makes sense.
Right.
Which, yeah. But this is fine. Like, I would argue that like people who want to train it will be able to figure out like this is not working out for them. Actually, that's something I want to get to after we finish with the video. So
Okay, let's get back to it. So yeah, thanks for the input. And I believe because InstructLab is quite easy to get up and running on your laptop, so definitely like you can chat and serve and chat with the model, but you can also easily find out that the fine-tuning part doesn't actually quite work for the code model. So all right, thanks, Dominic. If you can go back to the meeting minutes, meeting doc. All right. I just had one last item that we are having an event in Boston next week, devconf.us. There will be some InstructLab content. We'll have an InstructLab booth, and I think Cedric has a talk, and his talk includes something about InstructLab. So if you're in the area or if you are planning to attend, please take a look and come say hi to us at the booth. That's all I've had. I haven't had the chance. Oh, sorry, I missed the one right above videos. There's supposedly a PR for naming the InstructLab lab the dog. Does anyone know what the PR number is? Or because JJ, I think, is the one who created it, but he's not here today. So because we're trying to, as some of you might know, the InstructLab mascot is actually, I have my hoodie right here. It's the little puppy Labrador. So I think we're trying to give the puppy an identity. So anyway, when I find the link to the PR, I'll share it in the doc. So and also to the to the doc, so you can refer back to it to see. Any suggestions?
I got it, Jerome.
Oh, you got it?
Yep.
Thank you. Perfect.
It's a dev docs.
Yeah, okay. We were looking in community and even like taxonomy, but thank you so much, Julia. Let's see. Get the window. Okay. Oops. All right, so feel free to, pitch in your ideas and get some get some discussion going, and we'll vote for that. We'll probably have it, open for a couple of weeks, and I'll probably ask people at the DevConf event to contribute as well. So, all right, open floor. It's anybody has any topics, ideas,
I have
questions?
a couple of things.
Please.
I'll start with the number one. I think that's going to be easier. Contributing to the taxonomy. Now, officially, that process is kind of open. However, from the looks of the repo, there doesn't seem to be that much activity. And when I requested, access for contribution, I didn't get a response in like a month yet. So I want to know what's up with that. Like, are we not taking any contributions anymore, or is there a selection process, or is there going to be any sort of feedback? That's like, especially around here in like Red Hat, this like no response for anything and basically not doing PRs is kind of like weird. And we wanted to try to put in some knowledge about like, open source and things that people are actually using, and now we can't do that. So we would like some sort of, I don't know, idea, like maybe time frame, or what's the workflow actually.
Julia, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have some insight to this?
Yes, I have a couple of things, and I'm sure BJ can add a bunch after. So let's see. The reason for the PRs not moving is due to the end-to-end runs, which is taking the PRs and moving it through the whole process and then getting it into the model. That has currently been paused. My understanding was that we have been leaving comments on open PRs, making sure people are aware of this, but I will double check that with the team today.
Yeah, so your contribution guidelines in the taxonomy specify that you first have to request access before you contribute. And there is a form, Google form, that you're supposed to fill out. There's also further requirement that it has to be something with a Wikipedia article already. And if you fill out that form, it just says, thank you for, something, and that's it. It doesn't send confirmation. It doesn't send track progress of that approval. Nothing.
Okay, I will, it should. It's not, and it's actually, the way the form works is not automatic. It is
Okay.
The triage team checking the spreadsheet and then sending out emails, either accepted or not accepted.
So what's the meantime?
Should be about a week. We've been pretty swamped with other things, but I will look into making sure that that is still moving forward. So we actually did, so we took a pause on that because of something that is going to be announced the second I leave this call. We have changed, and this is another reason for, like, regardless of the end-to-end run being paused, another reason is because for knowledge, we have changed the YAML format requirements. So technically, and the triage team and I are gonna be working on how to handle this best. But going forward, once they had made this change, going forward, no knowledge YAMLs that are not this new format cannot go through the end-to-end run successfully. So will need to be changed to the new format. So that's why for the past 2 weeks, we haven't been sending out any confirmation emails until the request is sent out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what I'm getting out of this is that there's a pause on the knowledge contributions, and after the change in the YAML structure, we're gonna have to rewrite whatever PRs we have already submitted, if we have submitted any. I can't help but think that it would be probably better to announce more widely and openly that you're not accepting contributions, because this way a lot of people have kind of maybe wasted time. And
this was just solidified.
yes, but the important part is that this has to be put out in the open.
Right,
This
which
doesn't
is what
cost
we're
you
doing.
anything. Yeah,
We
it
just couldn't
doesn't.
do it until we updated the documentation properly. And we were a little delayed on that. But now that it is finally in, now I can announce it.
Yeah, but like the better way, in my opinion, the way it's done in open source projects, if you don't want new contributions or you can't accept them, you should make it public, ideally in the project repo itself, before you hit a pause button. And otherwise, you end up with people filling up the pull requests and making more work for you because they don't know. And they will feel frustrated because they feel like you don't care about them. Like there's this one PR over here. It's been open 2 weeks ago and no reaction. I don't know who Myron is. Oh yeah, Myron Duffy from Red Hat. She has received no response from you for 2 weeks.
Because she is the head of this project, and she
Yeah.
made that PR was for a test.
Okay, but that's still a bad practice, exceedingly.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but that's just like, that's how it works. So
Yep. No, I totally agree with that, and this is exactly why I'm sending out the update. Now that we have the README updated, but this is all coming from higher up in the project. Me being told like when to announce it and stuff like that's all coming from higher up. But I do agree, the triage team is, does, like, we have bots, a stale bot and other bots, and JJ member that have been updating PR. So we do keep the community updated.
Yeah,
and it wasn't an official like pause. It was more just like, we're scrambling to get everything.
Yeah.
And please note that
That's
this is a very, very new project, and we are also, learning how to best engage and reach the community, and also we are short on resources in many different parts.
I do find that surprising,
yeah.
given the priority the project was given, that you are short on resources. Actually, I would expect that you were given all the resources you need.
Well, that's also for the project, and also the project is also part of the product that we have at Red Hat, and there are a lot of current priorities that is is being prioritized. So
obviously.
yeah.
But well, I wasn't aware of the situation. Now that it's cleared up, I will tell it to my colleagues, explain to them why the contributions have been, in such a state as they are.
Appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Second thing, unrelated to the first one, I've been looking into ways how we can package InstructLab in Fedora. There's apparently a bit of an issue in that. Unfortunately, InstructLab is not one package as such. It's technically more like 6 packages we would need to get into downstream Fedora. Well, upstream Fedora. Fedora is just upstream. But it's still 6 packages, which would need a maintainer or possibly more. I've been looking at the dependencies of these 6 component packages that are necessary just for the basic InstructLab installation. There are several others that we are not packaging right now. It did cause certain unease among the Fedora packagers. The idea that we'll be putting all of these in there with relatively little justification, because the use case is just running InstructLab and very little else. So we would probably need some way to do that, maybe refigure it out. Maybe we could merge the repos somewhere downstream, but that would be only messy and wouldn't work out anyway. So I'm afraid that until we get some sort of traction with people demanding InstructLab on Fedora, we may have to pause that. That is packaging it as RPMs, at least in like in upstream Fedora. That is
Right. And I actually had a chance to talk to Matthew in Boston last month, and he was also mentioning that it would be nice to be able to package InstructLab for Fedora, but maybe right now it's not the it's not like something that we have to do right away, and we will see if there's a demand. What are the people's communities feedback, requests, wishes, whatever, right? So I think there's recently a Fedora survey, AI survey or something.
Yes. I'm afraid that the demand is part of the problem. I mean, if there is a demand,
Right.
it's easier to justify getting resources for something.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, maintainers of upstream Fedora packages have been in short supply. And effectively, it's more like convincing someone to watch over that thing in the long run, rather than just doing it once. Because doing it once, that's easy. Oh, well, okay, it's not easy, but it's essentially just a question of like 2 days of work, right? But watching out for it and making sure that everything is updated and that there are no CVEs kept in there, and that if the build fails, that everything. That's the more problematic part. Right now, as I said, there is a shortage of a sort. And we would need someone to be basically convinced to do that. And unless there is a strong ask from the community, it just doesn't seem like an attractive proposition for most.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Fedora situation.
Yeah, thanks for the update. I was just about to contact Matthew Miller to see what's the update on that. So, I think maybe we can revisit this, a couple of months later when things are more, for example, when we start accepting taxonomy PRs again, it makes sense then to promote it more, right? Because right now,
yes,
some things are stuck as well. So.
In the long run, it may be something to look at, to maybe try to make the structure of the project a bit less branched, if you know what I mean. Right now we have there's a repo just for the JSON schema, which is a separate package technically, which I don't know if it's strictly necessary. A lot of these things seem to be very tightly coupled, as in, you make a release for one, you should probably make release for other, or not at all, in which case it could be also in the same repo, right?
That's entirely true. These things have independent life cycles and operate. I've run the schema repo. It's used by the taxonomy to parse taxonomy files. There's a check script in there. It's used by SDG. It's used by InstructLab. So there's many different parts. And part of the reason of having it as a separate repo is so that these other projects can depend upon it as a leaf rather than having circular dependencies if we stuck it in one of them. I get your point that there's lots of projects, but that was sort of done on purpose in order to enable substitution, right? Because you imagine that researchers will experiment with different SDG techniques, and they'll want to substitute in a different SDG implementation, and it's easier to do that if it's a completely separate package. They can just pull it in, can have the same API, but a different package name. So it opens up, I think, the space much easier for researchers to explore different aspects of the complete process, right? SDG, training, eval, etc. And I think that's why you're seeing all of the projects as different Python projects.
Okay, that's, I suppose, also a valid way of looking at things.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well is, you know, not to confuse this with a lot of other repos that were there originally. Some of them are duplicates, some of them will be got rid of. And what BJ's saying there is, when you look at the CLI is calling a series of operations in a pipeline. So it's a greater pipeline. It's just not just the CLI. So to look at it from that perspective, and some of those back-end pipelines then, like data generation, tuning, etc., would then be called by the back-end afterwards. So the idea of extracting them out into one repo is not just being called by one client. There could be multiple clients going to call this. And adding to what BJ said, then there might be different implementations of the particular process, be it tuning or data generation, etc. So sorry.
Are there actually?
They could be going down the line.
Okay.
It's
But
like
the
future
API
proofing.
is ready
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, so we're getting ready for that. So, Jerry, exactly, when you're looking at it at this moment, you go, what the hell is the need for this? You know, it could be just all into one repo, but this is looking down the line for extensibility and maintainability.
Okay.
Great questions.
I mean, it's basically modularizing it through the use of distinct packages, right? So that, because as Marty said, there's there are different clients using it, right? There's the CLI client, which everyone is familiar with, but there's also backend clients that are running the processes that need access to different parts. So I think maybe it seems confusing on first blush, but I think it's been generally well thought out, right? And of course, the original effort was one project, and then we teased all these parts out for these reasons.
And it makes sense because for many projects that I've supported, a lot of times it started as like a, one big repo with all the components. And as the project grows, there is usually the need to break things apart so that it's easier to manage. So now doing it earlier might save the trouble down the line as well.
I would say it kind of depends, but I'm open to this approach. I mean, like, it's your project after all.
Well, I mean, of course, we definitely want, it's good to hear feedback from the community, but I think there are reasons for this, and already thinking ahead, these are the possibilities of.
Oh yes, I'm 100%
using
sure
this.
that it does make
Right.
sense. The problem is that I'm not 100% sure that the modularity will actually be useful down the line if there will be actually people swapping out modules like this, because historically speaking, unless you get a big, and I mean a really big community hanging around a project, people don't usually swap out components just like that because it's dangerous and because it kind of causes more work than they need. They usually take the whole packaged thing and they work with it, maybe adjusting slightly. But building a new component that you can put in and take out the original one, that requires a lot of effort. So it doesn't happen that often unless there's a lot of people there. Unless there are, right now they're not. Maybe they will be in the future. Maybe they will be. If they will be, then this is going to be very useful. But unless they appear, it's going to just be a network of dependencies. I mean,
right. So I think the other thing to consider here is that the lab process that InstructLab is implementing is new. it's an active area of ongoing research in many ways, right? Synthetic data generation is a huge area of active research. I think there will be lots of things we learn in the coming years and improvements and replacements. And I think it's important that we enable easy access to researchers to sub in parts and test ideas out. And so, yes, I mean, this is a decision, technical choice that was made by the team to enable that. Will that prove to be the right answer in a couple of years? I guess we'll find out. I don't know, but it is the choice that was been made today, and I think it's a good choice. I mean, you may disagree, and that's fine too. But it's from a community point of view, right? The leaders of the project decided this was a good way to go.
All right, there's a comment in the chat that says the Baldwin's law for development, more interoperable modularity helps open collaborative development. For delivery, less modularity improves adoption. Makes sense.
Right. I can imagine that from a Fedora point of view, you would like to have one thing that somebody can install, right? So I guess there really needs at some point to have a packaging project which produces one RPM that installs all the piece parts.
That's not just from Fedora point of view. That's generally from like any sort of distribution. The more
Right,
things you have to distribute, the more chances for, shall we say, unfortunate incompatibility you have. It's the reason why things like Llama file exists, or why containerization took off, because having more packages means having more things that can go wrong. Each component is a point of failure at very least. If you have components that can be swapped out, you have even more points of failures because you're just specifying an API and someone else can put something of their own there. Interoperability is not guaranteed unless they're very careful.
Right, but you could have
I'm not
one
saying
RPM
like
you could have one RPM that install all the various InstructLab packages, right? There's no need to have multiple RPMs.
The general approach in Fedora and in Rail, when it comes to Python projects, is to take the Python project that is already, for example, at PyPy, and to try to put it one-to-one into the RPM, because then people won't be confused by the difference. So if I want to install, let's say, Torch, for example, as a library, I know that there should be a one-to-one corresponding package somewhere in PyPy with similar name and with essentially the same functionality. That's the way we're doing it. It's kind of like almost a tradition, really. It's done for pretty much, most of Python packages. You can do that, obviously, the other way around. You can take all these repos, make a meta package of sort, and kind of stick them all together and basically say, hey, this is a single thing you can install. But that is exceedingly dangerous because you have to figure this out on the fly during build of the package, if these things all fit together and if it works out. If they don't, you have to send someone over. Well, send someone over. You need to have an engineer who figures out what went wrong, which takes time, which is money. And as I said, there's already a shortage of people working on Fedora. So putting a bunch of Python packages into one RPM, especially when it's this complicated, I don't think that's a good idea. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a style you like to do things, and it just is not in sync with the style of the way we're doing Python packages for InstructLab. And different distributions have different ways of wanting to do things.
Yeah, this is just a question of distribution in general. Like the more packages you have to install for something to work, in general, that means things are more complicated by default. It doesn't matter if it's RPM, if it's pip packages, if it's apt, if no matter what it is, no matter the package manager, no matter the delivery method, the more things you have to get something to work, the more complicated it is. It's simple principle. But I mean, like, it doesn't really matter right now. I mean, obviously, that decision has been already made. I'm just saying this makes things difficult for us to adopt existing packages into Fedora.
Right. So, I mean, at some level, this is not a community issue, it's a technical issue. And so maybe what you might want to consider doing is opening up an issue against the project with your requirements and why the current situation is awkward for you. And then that might spur some discussion on how to better support Linux distributions packaging in InstructLab.
Thanks, BJ. That was exactly what I was about to suggest, to create an issue so we can continue the discussions, because I think this is definitely good discussion, and it's not going to be just Fedora, right? We want to be able at some point for it to be available in different distros. So yeah, if you could, Yuri, if you could do that, create an issue, or if there's already an existing issue in Fedora discussing, you can point us to that as well.
This should be probably in the InstructLab community or the organization, because for Fedora, this is not an issue since Fedora isn't packaging this.
Right.
Something that I've put to our engineers who are maintainers of Fedora packages and who would actually be required to do all the work. And from their perspective, this is kind of a problem. So there's not discussion in Fedora upstream community, because technically Fedora upstream community doesn't really care about InstructLab. They don't, I mean, they know that it exists, but
Right.
it's not something they right now know could be even packaged.
Okay.
We would have to do that for them, and we would have to then tell them, hey, there's this thing, you can install it, it's fine, it's great. But before that, they would either need demand from them, a lot of it, or some changes.
Cool. Would you like to take an action to create the issue, or
I don't see why
would that
not.
be
I can,
okay?
yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Great, excellent discussions. Any other points or questions? Feedback? Yes, Julia.
I had one thing, Carol. So I met with the UI team. I meet with them weekly, and the UX team has been doing work with them to improve the UX and the design of the UI and website and social media stuff, different things.
Mhm.
The UX, the people that are working on that had a couple questions about like help page information, but I was going to refer them to Kelly unless you think there's any legal stuff, Carol, that will need to go into help menu stuff. And then also she was saying they'll need some legal information. So I was just going to refer her to you since Leslie is out.
Yeah, you can refer her to me. I think we already have like the basic stuff we need, like link to code of conduct, sponsored by Red Hat. But if there's a need for like terms and those usage information and privacy information, those kind of things, I can get the information for how to do that.
Okay, awesome. I will
Yeah.
connect you two on that. But they're making great progress. The UI obviously is very, 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 very important with the new YAML change.
Yeah.
It makes the UI even more important than it already was. But they're making great progress, and especially with the UX team helping out, they're making great progress with the website and everything else. So it's been great. And hopefully, we'll have a UI for the community soon.
That's great to hear. I've been really excited with the demos in the previous meetings, so looking forward to seeing the result very
Yeah,
soon.
me too. And then I guess a triage update, something that actually came out of the UI meeting and the triage team all agrees, is we're going to start coming up with like a curated list of knowledge and skill examples. So obviously in the README, we have like our one skill example for grounded, one for freeform, and then one for knowledge. The idea of having a couple of examples for each of the categories, so freeform skill, grounded skill, and then knowledge, having like, 5, give or take, examples might be super helpful for the community to see, the different types of things you can do, and just variations of what each of these YAML files look like. Yeah, so that's something we're working on. And if anyone has any feedback to that, you can join one of the triage meetings at 4 p.m. EST, and we'd love to talk about it.
Yes, I've been meaning to ask. So is it the Tuesday and the Thursday ones are the
Yes.
main ones, right?
The main
Okay.
ones, and then we still do technically meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but it's more of an optional cadence.
Cool.
But we have, there's been a handful of us who have been actually meeting on the off days, but when we decided to do like optional days, we have a set rule where we can't make any big decisions on changes unless it's on a Tuesday or a Thursday meeting.
Is there a timeline that this could be available, this curated list of additional knowledge and skills? Just an ETA doesn't mean like you have to.
I have no idea.
Okay, that's fine.
I was going to talk to the team about it again today.
Okay, cool. But good to know it's being worked on. I think that'll be really helpful indeed.
Yep.
Thanks, Julia.
I think that's all my updates.
All right. Anybody else? Well, if not, happy to give everyone 15 minutes back, and let's chat again in a week's time, and Dominic will help us host this next week. All right. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank
you.
you.
See you around.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.